So tomorrow we take delivery of another batch of chickens. We've got 200 white rangers showing up here first thing in the morning. So this video is mainly just gonna be about how I set up my brooder. I get my birds in here in the first thing in the morning, kind of showing you how that all works and goes. For the last several years, we've just been using this garage to store our brooder in, and I usually just set it up right here in the space behind me. Now, I've tried several different things over the years, everything from dividing them up into like 3 4x4 boxes. The first batch we just got done running this year, we decided to go with one big box. I took the corners out and made them curved. And to date, that's by far been the most successful batch of chickens I've ever raised. And in fact, I had 184 show up in that batch. I actually ordered 180, but they always send you a few extras. By the end, when I got them to processor, I had 176 make it to processor this year. So like I said, that's been my most successful batch of chickens that I've raised to date. I don't know the calculation on that at the moment, but I think that's somewhere in the 2 to 3% mortality rate, which is pretty good in my opinion. I always shoot for a number under 10% mortality per batch. And that kind of accounts for anything, you know, it has to do with extreme cold, extreme heat, any kind of piling that I have an issue with, not to mention predators that I might deal with as well throughout the season. So I was extremely satisfied with the batch we just got done running. Well, let's go and get this brooder set up real quick. I'll get the time lapse going on that. I'll show you what that thing looks like. And then, like I said, we'll pick back up in the morning when I get birds here, first thing in the morning, and we can go a little more in detail. About an hour later, I got this brooder all set up. I did decide to go a little bit longer this time around than I did last time. Essentially, last time I just had 2 boards wide, which are basically 4-foot pieces. So this was a big, like, kind of 8-foot by 8-foot box. I went ahead because I got more birds coming this time. So I went ahead and added another 4 foot onto this, making this thing roughly 8 foot by about 10 foot or so. So they got a lot more room. Let me turn you around and give you a little bit better view. So basically that's what we got. I do think I'm gonna go ahead, because I added this extra length on here, I do think I'm gonna go ahead and add another one of these bars over here, just to give a little bit more staggering to the heat lamps, because I don't have any heat on this side of the brooder. I may actually end up closing this side down for the time being once I get them in here, just until they get a little bit bigger and I get more heat over here, which means I'll be back over just a small group here, and then I can give them more space as they progress and get a little larger in size. So we're gonna start off with 3 waters right now. I got 3 feeders in here. I am gonna add more as they get a little bigger. That should get me going just for now. Like I said, I got 200 coming to start with. But this is kind of what I've evolved into over the last, I think I'm going on my 6th year now, raising birds. This is kind of what I've evolved into up to this point. This is one of those things where you're always kind of adapting and changing, seeing what works, what doesn't. And when you find something that works, you kind of stick with it. And that's what I've got going on here. Now, ideally, I'd like to get to the point where I don't have the big drinkers anymore. I'd like to get to where I've got basically a steady water source going to these in like the bell waters, but that's not going to happen in this garage. That's going to be later on when I get these guys moved over to my greenhouse that I'm working on building right now. So that's eventually where they're going to end up living down the road, but we're just not to that point yet. I didn't quite get that ready in time this year. So that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys tonight. I'm getting tired. It's getting late. I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm going to go ahead and leave you guys here. I'll pick you guys up first thing in the morning when birds get here, and we'll get this brooder loaded up and get everybody settled in. All right, next morning, just got birds home from the post office. We're going to get these guys in the brooder, get this thing set up real quick. Let's throw you on a time lapse real fast. We'll get these guys in here and get settled in. What do you say? So all 200 birds are in the brooder now. Pretty quick and painless process. As you saw a second ago, my process when I get birds home out of the box for the first time, I like to go through and physically dip each bird's beak in the water just to show them where that water source is. And then as you can see, it's only been about 10 minutes since I've got these guys all in here in the brooder ready to go. They've already figured out where the food source is. A lot of them are figuring out water. Some of them want the heat. Some of them are just down here running around being crazy. They'll all kind of figure out where they want to be, get settled in here, and in the next couple hours, they'll all be asleep. I guarantee you. That journey for them is pretty exhausting. So as you can see, I've got about 202 birds here roughly. They sent me 204. The hatcheries always send a few extras just to kind of account for any loss that you might have in shipping. With this particular shipment, I did have 2 birds that arrived dead, so that's not too terrible. Last batch, I didn't have any. This one I had 2. I've had as many as 30 or 40 in the past. The nice thing about that is you just call the hatchery and they'll make it right for you. They'll either send you replacements out pretty quickly, or they'll just give you a credit. I am going to go ahead and put another bar right here across this section, just so I can spread my heat lamps out a little bit. I want to be able to make sure I've got ample heat all the way across this brooder and there's no cold spots. So right now, I've got a group of them clumping right here. So I did go ahead and put a supplementary heater right here, just for the time being. So I get home later this afternoon and I make some more adjustments. I always love this time of year though, especially when we get our birds in. I love watching these little guys move around. My kids call them their little chicken nuggets. But that's all there really is to setting up a brooder, guys. Everybody's kind of got their own way of doing things. This is just what's worked for me up to this point. The addition of having the curved corners now has helped me greatly already this year with the amount of piling that I had going on. This time being a couple months later from then, when I did my first batch, I was in a colder season where I was still seeing 20s and 30s throughout the day. Right now it's early in the morning still. It's just before 9 a.m. and it's already 80 degrees outside. So they've got a pretty decent temperature to work with already. I'll add those heat lamps in there just to give them a little bit of supplemental heat as they need it. And we are off and running. Batch number 2 for the year. Just a quick little video today about showing you how I set up my brooder. Hopefully that was somewhat helpful for you guys. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave that down in the comment box. I'll leave a link to where I get all of my birds from. A hatchery over in Pennsylvania called Freedom Ranger Hatchery. I love those guys. They do a great job. I've always had really good luck with their birds. But other than that, that's all I've got for you today, guys. Appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. We will catch you guys on the next one. Have a good one.